On today's show, can this movie get nominated for Best Picture? Is Aquaman a good picture? The reviews are in, and we have a brand new announcement. Doctor Strange 2 is being worked on by Scott Derrickson. Movie Talk starts right now. It's exciting stuff.
That's exciting.
Whoa.
A lot of superhero
Shocker.
Doctor Strange 2. Well, it's not always shocking news here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Collider Movie Talk, where we talk about the movie news of the day. Sometimes it's a big surprise. Sometimes it's a no-duh. This is my favorite no-duh panel. That is Jeff Sneider. Over there is John Rocha. How are we today, gentlemen?
Good. I love that I sit next to the swarthy man with his incredibly hairy chest. I love the Jeff Sneider. Snyder's my favorite guy.
I don't wear an undershirt. Ooh.
I know. You like to show it all off for the ladies. I'm just saying it's going to be fun. It's always good banter when me and him are on the show with you, Mark. So I'm looking forward to talking about a bunch of stuff. I've survived posting a negative tweet about Aquaman. I'm still around and alive to talk about movies. Thank God. I haven't been killed yet.
Well, you are now appearing on Movie Talk with that opinion. Jeff, have you experienced the underwater salty adventure Aquaman?
If you can believe it, Warner Brothers and DC actually have not invited me yet. So no, I haven't seen it. I think I'll check it out next week with everybody else.
Okay, so you're going to see it when the movie is released or right beforehand. That is one of our main stories. We got a lot of fun news to talk about, but Aquaman reviews, the embargo that studios impose on films for Aquaman, it just released. So now we release our reviews. We still have to film it over in the Schmoe's No world, but we're going to get that up for you tonight. In the meantime, there's plenty of other reviews to check out. And currently on Rotten Tomatoes, the movie is fresh. I think it's hovering around the late 70s. I think it's a high C as of right now. Okay. No pun intended with high C. Yep. But John Rocha, you are not in the camp. Is it surprising you that Aquaman is getting, I would say, mixed to above average reviews?
I guess I am a little surprised because I like to feel like I have somewhat connection with the people who go see these movies who are in our sphere, somewhat of an agreement most of the time.
Pulse of the nation.
And I think with this one, I am just not one of these people that enjoyed it. And the 4 or 5 people who were in my row at the screening felt the same way for the most part about the movie. There are some things to talk. The special effects are great. The acting is good for the most part. The problem for me is it feels like a bad jazz song that just makes changes in pace and rhythm and style for no reason at all. And it feels like a bit of a mishmash of styles of movies slammed together, and it doesn't 100% work for me. There are some fun, cheesy moments. Absolutely. I did chuckle 2 or 3 times, but overall, I felt the film just didn't work for me and was way too cheesy in a way that just doesn't work for me. And I know people are going to come to me, oh, what about Transformers? Well, here's you like those Transformers movies?
Don't get defensive now.
Okay,
Don't do it.
That's a guilty pleasure movies. Those are not quality movies. I was expecting a quality movie from James Wan, and sadly, I didn't get it. But a lot of people liked it. So, go and see it yourself. I would never tell you not to go see this. Go see it, make up your own mind, enjoy your life, and see if you like it.
Jeff, when you hear reviews or when an embargo's up and now there's this highly anticipated movie that the Flutter Reviews comes in, it's 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's 43 fresh reviews with 15 rotten. So it seems like the critics' consensus might settle around the 70% mark. Is there a type of movie that you look at and say, I need to check the tomato meter out? Or do you look forward to critic reviews going up? Or are you simply an individualistic kind of, I'm going to watch this movie and I don't care what anybody else thinks before I go into it?
There are absolutely movies that I check the Rotten Tomato meter for. They're typically like indie art house movies where I'm like, is this movie worth my time? With Aquaman, I know what I'm getting. I don't need to check the tomato meter for that. And I know that the tomato meter in this case is pretty skewed, I think, because they keep serious-minded critics away from these films as long as possible. This is just the truth. I'm sorry. They let people who are predisposed to like these movies see them early, which is why I'm looking at an article on a site that had all the reactions from that first wave, no pun intended, of people and everything. It's fun. It's great. Everyone likes the movie. Last night, I'm in the office when everybody gets back from Aquaman. 3 or 4 people come in. They're like, hated it. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. They let people who are going to like this movie see it first. It gets people excited. And then you wait for that second wave and it's more negative. And just wait until the third wave, people like me see it. trust me, it's going to get crushed.
I can't imagine why DC didn't invite you to a screening.
I got so much
Because
crap.
they're afraid. I know why. They're afraid.
I got so much
You might
crap
like it.
for making an allusion to that a couple of weeks ago when the first wave of reviews came out. I was like, they only invited certain people to this screening for a reason. And that to me is controlling the environment. And that made me nervous about the movie before I walked in, then in the end, because I wanted to love it so much. I wanted to love it so much. I've championed it all year on Movie Talk and on any other program that I'm on that I was looking forward to it. And to have it not hit the mark for me is just sad. But like you may be right. That third wave may come through this thing and topple it, another pun intended, topple it and capsize
All right,
the
everybody
ship.
gets one more seafaring
All right.
reference.
I just think
Capsize-
studio publicity departments know what they're doing by now. You know,
Yeah.
they have lists of everyone's tastes and what they liked, what they didn't like. I mean, it seems very scientific. But yeah,
I think it's necessary. I mean, look, if I'm a consumer, then I do have some hesitation about buying my tickets today to go see Aquaman because of what the panelists are saying. It's like, well, who did you invite? Who has the reviews up? You have certain sources that you trust, whether you want to trust Collider, you want to trust Schmoes, you want to trust whoever it is to have an accurate movie review with your taste, that's fine. I also understand the studio system saying, hey, these Rotten Tomato things can really influence what our box office results are opening weekend. So we are going to try to bend the system as much as we possibly can within the rules. So I think that they have every right to invite whoever they want to. It's up to the consumer to be as savvy, because studios were not always hip to the tomato meter. Because I remember a couple of years ago when a Pirates movie came out and everybody was blaming, oh, well, this movie didn't do as well as we wanted it to because of the tomato meter. So they tried to beat the system to a certain extent and say we want the best number, because that number is so influential with how much money we make opening weekend. It's on you, the consumer, the home viewer right now watching this vid, to say, I'm going to take a beat and I'm going to wait until the Jeff Sniders of the world or whatever wave of critics come in that I can see what they're saying about the movie before I rush out and make my decision.
Don't you feel like studios, like if it were up to them, and I suppose it is to some extent, they wouldn't show the movie to critics at all. If they didn't really have to, you know?
No, I think because they need critics to build up buzz for a film like this, and especially DC, coming off of a very spotty track record that they have with the DCEU. And make no mistake, this is a DCEU movie. Don't let anybody tell you it isn't. It is. There's allusions to things. It is a DCEU movie. So I think they want critics to come out. I think this is what you say, Ellis, is a very smart thing. They rolled it out this way, so they got the maximum amount of effect of people to come in and see it. But there are some movies that that studios want critics to see because it builds a buzz for it, especially those indie films you're talking about. They want critics to see these things.
Then it
early
matters.
enough.
I just think movies like this are
consideration.
sort of critic-proof, and it is depressing to me that you're saying, that the public would just go look at the number on Rotten Tomatoes. I wish more people would be open to finding a critic or a critical voice and sticking with them and sort of trusting their advice rather than just going off of a collective number, because God, some of the names who are accredited for Rotten Tomatoes, give me a break.
Well, here's the thing, is that I think that when you have a movie like Aquaman coming out, I don't think that they want necessarily critics, but I don't think it matters that much, because if you are able to have a group of people that come see your movie first, you can take that quote. That's what we see when we see an Aquaman ad, is that it's fun, it's whatever it is, and then the tiny writing is like who the name is, what their outlet is. It could literally be anybody, and you don't really notice because you're just, the TV's on in the background and you see, look at this movie, so much fun. And you're like, I guess the critics are saying it's fun. I think that they like showing it to people ahead of time, but not necessarily critics. So it's up to everybody to make your own decision. Trust who you want to trust. I ended up actually liking the movie. I had a good time with it. Yeah,
there you go.
I enjoyed it. So our review is going to be up tonight. If you trust the Schmoes, or you just like watching us to throw stuff at the screen. Either way, we appreciate your click. All right, let's move on to our first official story today, and that is Doctor Strange 2 is in development. This comes courtesy of a report in The Hollywood Reporter. Marvel is currently finalizing a deal for the sequel. Scott Derrickson will return as the director. He directed and co-wrote the first Doctor Strange film that came out way back in the dark ages of 2016. They're going to look for a new writer. Benedict Cumberbatch will also return as the master of the mystic arts, and Benedict Wong, Rachel McAdams. It looks like they're looking for a spring of 2020 production start date. So if that movie doesn't even get off the ground from a filming perspective or a production perspective till 2020, they're looking at a May 2021 release date. Jeff, is this too early to talk about anything related to Doctor Strange 2? Is there any part of this news report that gets you out of bed in the morning and has you jumping for joy?
I mean, I'm excited that Scott Derrickson will be back, but at the same time, didn't we know this? Like, how is this news? Like, if I had woken up this morning, you said, who is, and you'd ask me, who is directing Doctor Strange 2? I'd say Scott Derrickson. So this report that, the negotiations are in the end game and he's about to sign on, it doesn't really do much for me from a news perspective besides reinforce the idea that what we knew all along is true.
Okay, Rocha, are you as disappointed to be right as Jeff Sneider is?
I like that Jeff Sneider said Endgame. Way to go there, Jeff. You're plugging. I respect.
Avengers.
There you go. Endgame. No, I'm excited for this, and I'm happy that he's in the final talks. I love Doctor Strange.
Why don't you lean into Rocha's frame a little more there, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
There it is. Good
It's in my top 5 of the MCU movies, maybe top 6 or 7, because now with Infinity War, it's kind of moved it around, but it's definitely in my top 10. I thoroughly love this movie. It's one I come back to all the time because it's not, no matter what anyone tells you, it's not the follow the formula of Marvel. No way. There's so much here that is tackled in this movie about going past something, getting over something, the mystic arts, the mysticism of the East. All this stuff is there in this movie, and you get this villain who is not your standard Marvel villain. It's not a shoot 'em up ending. It's very philosophical, thoughtful ending, and you have intelligent ending, and I love that about it. So to me, overall, I think this is a film that deserved a sequel. I'm glad it's getting a sequel. Clearly, Doctor Strange survived Avengers Endgame. So this is going to be interesting to see how he lays out his plan and what part he's going to play. Now, remember, he comes in the tail end of the Avengers thing with the phases. So what part is he going to play now, walking into Phase 4 of the MCU with whoever's left after Endgame is done? I like this. Is a great vote of confidence. I love Derrickson coming back, all the writers coming back, and I couldn't be happier because I want to see more films in the Doctor Strange franchise.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Scott Derrickson as a director. He's also a great follow on Twitter. He's got a lot of good things to say.
Yeah.
But Scott Derrickson as the writer, my question is so he's going to co-write it again. You're going to bring in a new writer or whoever worked on the first Doctor Strange. They're going to pair together. But my question is, does Marvel have their plan for the MCU as far as what are we going to do now that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is not going to kick us off what we originally thought we were going to have? Because it seemed like Doctor Strange 2 might follow in the path of Guardians 3. It's no longer the case, potentially, with this movie possibly setting up what we get to see with a Guardians 3. So do you think that there's any panic in the halls of the MCU because of this, or do you think that Doctor Strange 2, along with Black Panther 2, would be the stabilizing force, and then you have Captain Marvel coming into the picture, which we haven't seen what that box office returns are, but I imagine they're going to be pretty stellar. So if you have that trifecta, and then you have Spider-Man swinging back in after he goes independent with Sony, that's a pretty solid core to get into your next phase with.
Yeah, and you haven't even mentioned Fantastic Four or X-Men, which may be part of this next phase towards the tail end. But I think we're going interdimensional. I think we're going space now. We're moving out. With Doctor Strange, you're messing around with dimensions. Obviously, with Ant-Man now, Time Vortex, how's that going to play out? Then you have Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That will, at some point, come back, and you'll see space stuff. Captain Marvel's in space. So this is an expansion of the brand. So I think they've definitely planned it out. Feige's shown that he can plan stuff out years and years ahead of time. They're expanding the brand. My concern will be don't lose those heroes that ground you on Earth. It's really important to have those heroes that ground you on Earth. And I think Black Panther does that. Spider-Man does that to a degree. And we'll see who else gets thrown into the mix now as this goes forward.
All right, the master of the cosmic arts. Jeff, where does Doctor Strange rank on your favorite MCU movies?
I was just about to mention that. I actually think it's a top 5 MCU movie.
Okay.
I really like Doctor Strange. I like Cumberbatch's performance there, Tilda Swinton. I'm glad in this report we got news that Benedict Wong is going to be back, along with likely Rachel McAdams. And I guess, that was up for debate. Portman came back for Thor 2, right?
Yes.
She did.
Okay,
yes,
but she obviously wasn't in the third one.
Right.
Okay, you never know with these love interests if something's going to happen. But Rachel McAdams is a great actress, so it's good to see that she is probably going to be coming back. I love Derrickson's visual style here. Like John said last week, Doctor Strange is probably one of the most visually accomplished of all the Marvel movies. I'm a Scott Derrickson fan, so it's a good day. I just didn't think it was like groundbreaking news.
No, it's not. We're just here talking about it. It's something a little more groundbreaking. That might be way down the hall on the other end of Disney /ABC /ESPN /whoever else they own now would be the Academy Awards, and who is going to host it. Kevin Hart now out. Who is going to take his place? He was in for about a day, and then a lot of stuff went down, a lot of talk, a lot of back and forth. No apology issued, therefore Kevin Hart is out. And we have news that they're considering having no host at all for the Oscars. This comes according to a report from Variety that one of the mentions on the table for the committee who's convening tonight, I believe, to discuss who their next host should be, is we just don't have a host. We just have a group of random celebrities that are popping in, ushering in the action, and that's how you do it. So you would have the heavy lifting, as there usually is at the Oscars anyway, on a group of production coordinators who are backstage, getting people in, shuffling people in and out. It's not impossible to do this show without a host, and I actually don't hate this idea from an experiment standpoint if we didn't have the controversy surrounding the host that you thought was going to host the Oscars. If this was your idea going in, then I kind of like it. I would have been up to see the experiment, but now it seems like a knee-jerk reaction to, oh, well, we don't want to hire anybody that may possibly be controversial at any point in their career, so we're just not going to have a host, and we're just going to call it the Academy Awards. They just don't want to hire anybody, and they're worried about a backlash, Rocha. So how do you avoid a backlash? You simply don't have a host. Do you buy this report, and do you think that this would be the proper way to move forward given what the circumstances of this year's Oscars are?
I buy this as a possibility that they're kicking around, sure. But it's the Oscars. It is not the MTV Movie Awards or the Nick Awards or any whatever, like where you can do that kind of experiment. This is the Academy Awards. It's a prestigious show. It should have hosts that bring the right amount of love of film and also playfulness. Ellen DeGeneres was a good Oscars host. I enjoyed her. I think Amy Poehler and Tina Fey would be fantastic to step in. It's the year of the woman. #MeToo, #Time's Up. You need to find a female host, in my opinion, to take the reins here and host the show and knock it out of the park. Or female hosts with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. There have to be possibilities out there that they can play around with and work with. And to me, I think they're making a mistake not doing that. And this like hostless stuff, didn't we see that already with Anne Hathaway and James Franco? That's essentially a hostless show. And so, I mean, why did that work?
Hathaway stuck around the entire broadcast.
I guess. She, right. Respect to Anne. She toughed it out. James, not so much. So to me, I think that's you want to have you have to have a host that brings the right amount of respect for the films and also is playful with the guests and can get everybody involved. I think that's what you need to do. Hostless is I'm with you, Mark. It feels like a cop out and quit. And I don't like things that quit, people that quit, or things that cop out. So to me, I want to see them step forward with an interesting host. And I think people should start submitting themselves who are of note and celebrity to host the show to these producers. Be like, I'm ready to step in and take the mantle.
I'm pretty sure that there's been a number of phone calls and resumes submitted from celebrities who are offering to do it. You see it all over Twitter. I mean, my favorite one is Jeff Ross. Every year, Jeff Ross always submits himself, and I would definitely line up to see that.
Oh, my God.
I think that Jeff, we had a conversation about this on Collider Live this morning when I made my triumphant return, and William the Beast Bibiani was in, and he was talking about his idea that he came up with last week that he wants the Muppets to host. It's an ABC property. The Muppets are the Muppets. They're beloved. They've done their own variety show. That's what the Oscars are. I like his idea. Again, I would have liked this idea more if they opened with the Muppets and weren't having a reaction to Kevin Hart stepping down and saying, now we need the Muppets. Rocha doesn't seem like he's on that side.
No, that's a
ridiculous idea.
Terrible.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, they have no cultural currency at the moment.
The Muppets?
Yes.
Not since 1978 have they made it good.
I would even say 4 or 5 years ago would have been okay. It was closer to the movies, but like, who is talking about the Muppets? Yeah, exactly. It's like the Muppets. You're not going to bring in 16 and 17-year-olds with the Muppets, which is what they are trying to do. Make no mistake. They want to, get people watching not only now but for years to come. The way to do that is to get young people to watch the show. I personally, and I don't mean to throw cold water on Variety's report. I just take it with a huge grain of salt. This feels to me like the Oscar host issue was such a big thing last week, and then it kind of petered out, because now the Academy's going back to the drawing board. This feels like an editor being like, "Hey, what's going on with the Oscar host situation?" And the reporter being like, "I don't know, make a call." And then one person gets on the phone and says, "Yeah, they're gonna have some big stars there. It'll be SNL style," and then it becomes a story. I have a weird feeling about this.
So you don't think that this is? I think they're going to host that they kick around because they're meeting tonight. They're probably watching the show right now. Hi, Academy.
I think
we're all available.
I think it's BS.
The Academy, according to this report, was also blindsided by the announcement of Kevin Hart stepping down because I guess they assumed that he was going to issue some sort of apology. He steps down instead, and so they're like, "Oh, now what do we do?" I think that all possibilities are on the table when they meet at whatever Hilton Garden Inn conference room they're meeting at, and I think that they're going to kick around a number of names. I think offers might go out tonight. What is the process, though, Jeff? Because you probably know this better than Rocha and I, as far as trying to submit, if you're the Academy, hey, you, celebrity X, we want you to come in and host the Oscars, because I do think that, by and large, this is a thankless job. Yeah. I think this is a very tough gig for a comedian, for a performer and entertainer to step in and host and do well. You're going to face an inevitable backlash after you get announced as a host, and possibly the day after you host the Oscars, if people don't like what you did, even though a lot of that may have been out of your control. So who would be the right person to step in? There were a lot of names that we kicked around on Collider Live this morning, and some of them got shot down simply because if you're this person, I don't know that you need to attempt this feat. It's not the easiest thing to pull off.
Well, I mean, the reason you don't see A-listers, a lot of A-listers do this is because they have a lot more to lose if it goes wrong. Like Kevin Hart is now worrying about his career, his movie career, which was fine last week. I was shocked when they got him. I did not think that they would get someone of his caliber. I don't know if they can get another person at that level, or if the whole Kevin Hart situation has now prevented that from happening. I wrote a list for the .com a week before all this stuff happened, like putting out 40 different names. You have to eliminate the late night talk show hosts. You have to eliminate people like Lin-Manuel Miranda who say that they don't want to be a part of it. So it's like it's slim pickings, but I don't think this is really a job you can apply for. It's something that John Bailey, the head of the Academy, and the Board of Governors, and Donna Gigliotti and ABC executives, they have their list. This is not like a free-for-all where they're looking for, like, I don't know any more than you guys do as far as how it's picked, but I cannot imagine that they're going to go with no host.
Do you think, I think that's a possibility, and I might even say that's a strong possibility at this point, because it's very hard now to find a host that you can announce that will not have some sort of, this is a reaction to Kevin Hart, or this is something else, without possibly upsetting another group of people. Yeah. So what is going to happen at the Oscars, Rocha? What's your prediction?
I think they will eventually find a host. I think someone, some of these things are like, this is like a mating call. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, people hear the whistle, the duck, they hear this call, and they're like, hosts unite or come somewhere. And I think maybe they've got some ideas of who they want to go with. The Oscars have a lot of prestige, and those tentacles are long in this business and in this industry. And I'm sure someone will step up and be willing to take on the task. I know I said that issue, but Trevor Noah is a possibility. Samantha Bee would be a fantastic possibility. No. You want to go younger, but you want to go younger. I think Jeff's point is well taken. You want to go younger, but who's hosting a show that's younger, that's not on YouTube, that will like step into this situation and really bring the eyes to the Academy? Because that's what it's about. It's about ratings. They wanted to skew a little younger. The Kevin Hart, funny guy, African American, works all across the board for getting eyes on this. Now they have to kind of double track and find out, or double back and find out who they're going to get. And I wonder if it's going to, but I just feel like someone's going to step up that feels right and will step into this situation and take it over and do well with it, because it just feels like the Oscars need it. Like, I feel like after the last couple of years and the ratings and the abuse they've taken, they got to find the right person in this situation.
I don't know
who's at the top of your lists.
My thought this morning was the one that makes the most sense, because look, you can say a name like The Rock, And sure, I'm sure the Academy would love to have him. He's not saying yes.
No,
So
especially
I'm
after
trying to
this.
find somebody who I think works for all parties. And I think that the best answer I could come up with was Hugh Jackman for this reason. I'm not sure Hugh Jackman.
Done. Who cares? I don't want to see him again.
Hugh Jackman wants to come back.
Yeah.
But Hugh Jackman does have incentive to, because he just announced that he's going on tour in 2019. I think this would be a great showcase for what he's doing with his live show that he's touring all over the world with.
Yeah.
If he needs to sell tickets, why not host the Oscars? That would be my answer to the question. Jeff?
No, not him. I would get someone like Billy Eichner. I would settle for him.
Eichner.
Yeah.
You're going to shoot
be
down
funny.
Samantha Bee, but Eichner's in your...
Samantha Bee. Are you kidding me with her?
Are you kidding me with Eichner?
Wow. Okay, good responses, gentlemen. That's how you have a
Samantha
debate,
Bee.
all you high schoolers out there, to say, are you kidding me? And then furrow your brow and cross your arms. Well, the meeting is happening tonight, allegedly, with the Board of Governors and whoever else is involved in the decision-making as far as who is going to be the next host of the Academy Awards. Will they make a decision tonight? Do they already have somebody in mind, and they're just waiting for that person to scrub their Twitter account? We move on, but first I want to remind you all that we do have some new reviews up. As we mentioned, the Aquaman non-spoiler review is up now on Collider Video, as is the Once Upon a Deadpool review. Somebody saw it. Not sure who. Is it you, Rocha?
Yep.
Hey, there you go.
Me and Coy, we sit down and we reviewed it. I watched it this afternoon, came storming right back on the 405 to get here on time to record that review. I think you guys should watch it. Coy
Is
and
it
I
worth
have-
my $15?
Is
The
it
movie.
worth your 15? If you enjoy Deadpool 2, then yes, because the scenes with him and Fred Savage are absolutely hilarious. And so they are worth it if you want to go enjoy Ryan Reynolds. Hey, Ryan Reynolds could be a great host of the Oscars.
As
He's on the
Pikachu.
list as Deadpool, though.
As Pikachu.
As-
Not Deadpool, as
No,
Pikachu.
as Ryan. It could even be Ryan and Blake. That would be nice, or Emily Blunt and Krasinski. Those two. That would be.
Give
if
me
you have a real couple
Judd
hosting.
Apatow and Leslie Mann over
no.
them.
I believe there was a portion of the show where I asked you gentlemen to
Sorry,
give me
sorry,
names, and you instead shot down mine.
Are you
and then
kidding
yelled at
me?
each other. So we go on to our next story, and that is that Chris Messina has been cast. How about Chris Messina?
Love
Chris
that guy.
Messina has been cast in Birds of Prey, as casting announcements surround this movie left and right this week. WB also announced some of the rest of the cast includes Stephen Williams, Derek Wilson, Dana Lee, Francois Chow, and Matthew Willig. Birds of Prey obviously stars and is produced by Margot Robbie. It's a movie that is coming out February 7th, 2020. It's got a lot of big names in it already. This is adding another one, and that is Chris Messina, according to Deadline, will be playing some version of a villain who is not obviously the main villain. That is going to be Black Mask, played by Ewan McGregor. But this villain is Victor Zsasz. I don't read the comic books, and even if I did, I probably still wouldn't know how to pronounce it. So have at it, Z-S-A-S-Z. It's a big word if you play it in Scrabble. So he's working in cahoots with the crime boss Black Mask. And the backstory is that he was the head of his own international company, a rich guy who's from a rich family, fortune at 25. His parents died in a boating accident and plummets into deep depression, losing himself in gambling and ultimately everything too. The Penguin.
Yes.
The Penguin is involved. So he tries to commit suicide. That doesn't work out. He kills a homeless man. Then he becomes addicted to killing, and he's running around. Basically, he's a bad dude running around the streets of Gotham, and not somebody you want to come across. He's working in cahoots with Ewan McGregor's Black Mask. Gentlemen, does the casting of Chris Messina or any of the other names I mentioned do anything for you according to Birds of Prey?
I love it. Coming off of Sharp Objects, his work on Sharp Objects, he's coming into this situation now, giving some more dramatic weight to the film. This film now is shaping up to be something that will have way more weight to it and darkness and edginess to it than you expect from film like this. You see the Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix, that's going to have some really dark grittiness to it, and now you see this happening with Birds of Prey. I think it's a smart move to cast him in this part, and this part is very violent and dark as hell. And there's a guy who enjoys killing. He marks up his face for every victim he has or his body, and that to me is interesting, and the way he's going to play off Black Mask. This is going to be a very interesting film if they get it right. If they get it right, I may love this film. And so it excites me. Messina's another actor, under the radar actor. People know him. People have seen him in things, but he's not a celebrity star. Good, solid, strong actor. So once again, you look at the cast list now, and it should give you a lot of hope for what kind of movie this is going to be.
Yeah, Jeff, another credible actor, performer added to Birds of Prey. Does it get you out of bed in the morning? You going to go see this movie now?
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Chris Messina. I liked him in Away We Go.
Oh,
You ever seen that movie?
Well, Krasinski,
He's a solid addition. They also picked up Ali Wong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's going to be in the movie as supporting. I got scooped on that this morning.
Nice.
Congrats, Ali.
I think she's going to be someone working in the DA office alongside Renee Montoya, played by Rosie Perez. I'm excited to see her in a big budget movie. It would have been cool to see her and Leguizamo, because I guess Leguizamo was offered this part before Messina. I don't know why it didn't work out, if it was a scheduling issue or if he just didn't like the part. But yeah, I really like the way that this cast is filling out, and I have faith in the director.
Movie comes out February 7th, 2020. For keeping score, that's about the same time that Marvel starts pre-production on Doctor Strange 2. It's all about Birds of Prey. Very excited for that movie. All of a sudden, I'm not sure what's happening with Aquaman. I have looked at the box office tracking. Looks pretty impressive, so could start to build some momentum.
Sure.
Maybe I don't sound as crazy as I did 6 months ago when I first postulated the idea that within 5 years, the DCU could overtake the MCU as the biggest game in town.
Right, but this is madness. But Aquaman is still tied to the Sneider era, and that's important to remember. It is not this newer wave that's come through. Yes, it's been released now, but it's been worked on for 3 years. Juan has been working on this for quite some time. They started out in a certain vein under Snyder's executive producership and his wife Barbara, but then they had to adjust to, remember James Wan started coming on those interviews, more fun Aquaman, and they certainly tried to do that in the movie. So I don't think this is part of the new wave, but you still may be right, Mark, that in 5 years, because I like what I see from that Joker movie, Joaquin. I like what I see with this Birds of Prey thing, and hopefully Wonder Woman 2 is fantastic, and Shazam's fantastic. This is a whole nother turn. And if they get Tom Cruise for Green Lantern, yippee-ki-dee.
All right, well, now that would be a story that would wake Snyder up out of a cold dead sleep, unlike the Doctor Strange 2 news. A couple more stories to get to, then we're going to take your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. The next one I thought would be a fun conversation piece, as did Perrin Emiroff, who she puts the show notes together, and I just read them to you guys on camera and try to act like there is a teleprompter, although there never has been. I got no strings to hold me down. The question at hand in Adam Chitwood's tremendous article on Collider.com, which you can check out. I highly encourage you to do so after this conversation. Is Black Panther worthy of Best Picture consideration? Will it get nominated? Chitwood gives a heartfelt yes. I read his article. I agree with a lot of his points. Just going to give you one quick quote that he has in there, and then we'll discuss. This is mass entertainment with a point of view, a blockbuster that makes you think and leaves the audience with no easy answers. If that doesn't make it one of the best films of the year, I don't know what does. I do subscribe to that, and I think that regardless of whether the Oscars was trying to include movies like Black Panther and Infinity War when they had this idea to say the best popular movie, which is not going to be part of the Oscars this year, I think that Black Panther deserves consideration for Best Picture simply because it was my favorite comic book movie of the year or my second favorite comic book movie of the year, depending on how I'm feeling when I wake up. It's either Black Panther or it's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I liked Infinity War. I liked Deadpool 2. I can't imagine the addition of Fred Savage is going to make that big of a difference, where I think Deadpool 2 all of a sudden shoehorns into the Black Panther spot, because Black Panther I thought was such an amazing job visually, culturally, the way it was written, the way it was directed, the way it was acted. I thought it was a lot more than a comic book movie, and if you just look at it as a comic book flick, you're missing out. John Rocha, Black Panther, do you agree with Adam Chitwood and his article that it should be a Best Picture nomination?
Absolutely. I emailed Adam after I read it and told him how much I really enjoyed his piece. And if you haven't read it, go and read it after you watch the show, obviously. But go and read it and enjoy his points. His points are very well laid out, very thought-provoking. And I've been feeling this way since I saw the movie, that it should be in contention. It got a Golden Globe nomination, so I wanted to have an Oscars nomination to go with it. It deserves it. It's a fantastic film that is beyond. This is how you do an origin film, people.
Wow.
It is beyond what you expect it to be, and it isn't even, it's only slightly tied to the overall MCU, but creates its own universe, its own story, very rich characters, very interesting exploration of the cultural stuff that's going on for him, but also the stuff going on for him and his family, the idea of isolationism versus a global community, which is very prevalent what's happening now in our world, and also this idea of the black experience, both from the African side of it and from the American side of it. These exchanges that Killmonger and T'Challa have throughout the whole film give the film its resonance. Denai Greer, her character, Shuri Wright, what she has as the sister, and of course Lupita Nyong'o, what she's talking about, this idea of breaking out. So there's so much explored here. There's not just a superhero film. There's so much to it that I thoroughly enjoy, and it will have cultural resonance for decades. And I think that's what's incredible about this film. Logan, I wanted a Best Picture nomination because it's a fantastic Western and a superhero case, but with this is an actual film that should be nominated for Best Picture because of the world it creates and the issues it talks about.
And let's not forget, we're going to be talking about Black Panther for a long time. It's going to have cultural resonance regardless of whether it gets nominated for an Oscar.
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking about this film for decades to come because of the impact it had on the box office, on the culture. Jeff Sneider, I think the reason why Black Panther is a Best Picture consideration as opposed to just another really good comic book movie is what Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger brings to the table as far as the introspective villain where you fully see their point of view. We've seen it a lot with villains in recent fare, not just with comic book movies, but where you see that they do have a point of view, and it's to the point where you walk out of the movie and you're saying, I'm not rooting for them, but they make some damn good points. Is that what's going to turn the tide for you, or do you think that Black Panther simply didn't have enough in your eyes to be a Best Picture nominee?
Again, personally, I thought Black Panther, and I was a fan of the movie. I liked it. I thought it was like the 30th best movie of the year. But that said, I agree with Adam Chitwood's article. I think it is worthy of a Best Picture nomination. I think it is going to get a Best Picture nomination. In fact, I think it's the fourth most likely film to get that nomination. And I'll go so far as to say, I think this movie has a chance to win Best Picture.
Wow.
Okay? I think there is real, we are, as much as I loved Green Book, we are starting to see pushback on Green Book. There already is a backlash to A Star Is Born. I think Roma is supremely overrated. Black Panther could win. It could win, and I won't begrudge it for that. I don't think that it deserves to win Best Picture, but even though I don't think it is a top 10 movie for me, I think it is deserving of a nomination because, like you said, its themes outside of it's transcended the superhero genre.
I was going to ask you about that because just to clear it up, it's like it's not one of your 10 favorite movies of the year,
right?
But you're stepping outside of your own, enjoyment of a film because, like, for instance, Creed 2 is in my top 10 movies of the year.
Wow.
If it is not nominated for Best Picture, I'm going to understand.
Okay.
Because I loved it. I'm not sure that everybody else is going to love it or the Academy is going to recognize it in the same way. I'm not saying don't do it, but with Black Panther, I think that is one of my 10 movies of the year for sure, but I also think that it deserves to be nominated. So sometimes you see a movie and you say, well, I liked it, but I know it's not for everybody. Or the opposite, you say, I didn't like this movie, but I acknowledge why it can be considered a great film.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Instant Family was a better movie than Black Panther, but to me, Black Panther is a much more deserving. Did you see Instant Family? Did you see it, or you just? Yeah, he didn't see it. That's what I thought.
It's fine.
Everything John Rocha freaks out about, he hasn't even seen.
No, but
did you see
just no way.
There is a way. In fact,
that Instant Family is better than Black Panther.
It in fact is, but it's not a more deserving Best Picture candidate. And so I will give credit to Ryan Coogler, to the folks at Marvel, for making a film that did become a true cultural phenomenon, and it is deserving of a Best Picture nomination. So Adam is correct.
Why do you hate superhero movies? Like, I just want to know why you hate
Dude, Black Panther is a clearly flawed movie that goes off the rails in the third act. The third act is a mess. It devolves just like Wonder Woman. It's the same problem.
How can you say the third act is a mess when that's when everything comes to a head?
All I care about, it's like the internet misunderstands me too. All I care about is story. Story and script. And there are clear story problems with Black Panther.
But not in Instant Family.
No.
This
Instant
is a
Family, in fact, is fantastic.
Story-prone movie, Instant Family.
We're arguing two movies, one of which you haven't seen. So
okay, fine.
So good lesson to all you kids at home. Quit while you're ahead.
Rent Instant Family when it comes out.
Show host.
No, I don't take a hit on this. I really don't. There's no way Instant Family.
Sicario. Okay, what's a bad example? Sicario 2. Sicario 2.
You like Sicario better than Black Panther?
Absolutely. I think Sicario 2 was like messed up. But am I going to argue that that's a Best Picture nominee over Black Panther?
That
no.
story doesn't fall apart at the end with that ridiculous
I love the
thing
end
that happens.
I love the end, the very end, at least, with it. Anyways.
All right.
Mark!
Let's talk Shaun the Sheep. That's our last story. And it's time for your live Twitter questions. Shaun the Sheep. Farmageddon has a new trailer. And I will say this about Shaun the Sheep. It wasn't a movie that I was that excited about. Then my buddy Christian saw it and loved it. Shaun the Sheep might have been in his top 10 of that year. It came, like, he loved Shaun the Sheep. And it actually is a really cute movie. It's really funny. I watched it on a plane. And now Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon is the new movie. We just had a trailer for it. Feels like it's a little bit E.T. where he finds his intergalactic visitor. The government's going to try to find them. And it's up to Shaun to make sure they get back home before the government captures them. I'm probably going to be pulling for the government at some point in this movie just because if it's an alien from another planet, I think we need to know more about why it's here. But Shaun disagrees with me and needs to get the visitor friend back home. Having said that, if the visitor was cute and cuddly, I might try to protect it from the government. Jeff Sneider, did you get a chance to watch this trailer that was in the show notes?
I mean, I had the chance. I just didn't take it.
Okay.
I know it was in the show notes, and apologies to Perry Nemiroff, but in my opinion, life is too short, and I was not going to spend even 1 minute.
But it could be Instant Family, Jeff. It could be as good as Instant. You're really denying yourself a shot here to watch a trailer that could be just as good as Instant Family.
It could be. This is a child's movie.
What?
I am not a child, and so I am not going to watch the trailer or talk about the movie.
You're an idiot. You're a flat idiot. I swear to God. Did you see Mary Poppins Returns?
I did. I saw it last night.
Isn't that a child's movie? You would still enjoy it.
There are elements that, yes, it's a child's movie.
Okay,
yes.
then shut up. Shaun the Sheep is a fantastic film. Enjoyable
Fantastic,
stuff.
says John Rocha.
That's right.
Top 10 of the year.
It was Jeff's 30th greatest film that year. But what they've been doing consistently great work animation-wise from that studio. I like the Wallace and Gromit series for years. I liked Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Very, very enjoyable, funny film. Shaun the Sheep, like you, Mark, didn't expect anything from it. Super surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So I'm glad there's a sequel to this, and this looks very interesting and funny. They're bringing the characters back that you enjoyed from the first one, and then adding an extraterrestrial element to it.
Can I be your +1 to the screening, John? Will you take me?
If you'll come, because if you flake out because you think it's a kid's movie, I will not take you.
Mark, you're supposed to have a joke ready all the time as the host here.
Oh, I got jokes ready, but try to keep it PG-13
Jokes
around
for days.
here. So I like the trailer. I think Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon. I keep showing it Shaun of the Sheep because Shaun. And when I typed into Google today, Shaun of the Sheep came right up. So a lot of people having the same mistake I am. Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon in theaters next year. All right, we're going to move on to our live Twitter questions. Before we do that, I do want to remind everybody that we have an Into the Spider-Verse screening and a Q&A. For more details on that, go to collider.com. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, possibly my favorite movie of the year, not just my favorite comic book movie of the year, but I know some people may consider it just a kid's movie. The Rule of Two is also the Star Wars podcast where Mark Fernandez and Mark Riley do a deep dive into the world of Star Wars. Check that out. Collider Live back tomorrow for its last episode of the week. You can catch it every Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. to noon. And Collider Heroes is also on the table tomorrow. Coy, Amy, and a guest are going to talk about all the latest in the world of movies, probably Once Upon a Deadpool.
Yeah, we will have Dorian Parks sitting in as our third panelist, but we're going to have Lamont Garrett coming in from Elseworlds. He's playing the Monitor in Elseworlds. He's going to step in and he's going to be our guest. We're going to interview him about the crossover that started this past weekend. So he's going to have a lot to say. So watch Heroes, their interview. And then also we've got an interview that Coy did with Rob Liefeld. We're going to cut out snippets of that and put it on the show as well. So there's so much on the show. And then next week, Todd McFarlane, ladies and gentlemen. We have Todd McFarlane on Heroes next week to talk about Venom.
Why haven't I been on Heroes, John? I've been working here for 6 months.
I don't think you want to read the comments if you're on Collider Heroes, but I would watch that episode. Good to see Rob Liefeld back around. He's always such a good sport.
He's
Excited
a good
about
guy.
Todd McFarlane next week.
Yeah.
Check out Jeff's show for your consideration. He's one of the hosts of that. And John Rocha's other show, Sports Time, had the pleasure of being on that this past Monday and weeping about our beloved Washington Gentlemen's football team of the greater D.C. area. Let's do a couple questions, and then we will call today. You mentioned Dorian Parks being a special guest. This question involves him. It's from Frank Torres. It said, what happened to that hyped-up basketball game? of Rocha and Matt versus Jeff and JTE.
Yeah.
Top 10 versus the Patriots. And then
what did happen to that?
Sub-question, could Ellis and Dorian team up to play the winner afterwards?
Absolutely.
That seems unfair.
It does seem unfair.
Ellis and what do you mean? Ellis and Dorian sounds like a really good team.
We have a lot of championships and high school accolades between.
Let me tell you something right now. After we dispense of these two old farts, Matt and I will demolish Dorian and Ellis. Demolish.
When was the last time you played basketball, John? 1985? I haven't seen you out there the last 6 months.
Well,
what a
Sneider.
mean arbitrary year to pull.
I know, right? 1985. You've seen me on this court in the calendar year of 2018.
I've seen you play once since we started working together.
You've seen me play a lot.
No Stenai are out there every Saturday.
You are.
You should come.
I play out in El Segundo now. It's really tough.
My boyfriend goes to another school.
In the basketball courts.
All right, we move on to
Niagara Falls. No. Here's what happened. My knee got hurt, so I had to get. I had to wait for that to get healed. By the time I got healed, old JT, his running buddy there, slammed his face into some pavement on a bird scooter.
I saw him last night. He's back out. We're ready to roll.
We're ready. We're ready. I know Sneider ready.
Get a date.
JT's shoulder has healed a lot faster than Markel Fultz, and I think that he is
cleared.
He's ready to get in the game, and like I said, I'm happy to referee it. And according to this tweet, maybe referee / do a preliminary scouting report for me and Dorian to take back to the Batcave.
I don't know if I'll approve you.
Rocha starts sweating on the walk from his desk into this studio.
Just because I know I got to go toe to toe with you.
The two next covers of Men's Health, Rocha and Sneider. Luis E. de la Pena is up next. He says, which movie character would be a good Oscar host? We talked about Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Pikachu hosting the Oscars. Who's a good movie character? And let's try to take the fact that Kevin Hart is not doing it. There's all this controversy around there. Just sit back and you want to watch an award show that's the Oscars that's hosted by a movie character. Who you casting? Controversy. You're not worried about it.
I want to watch the Oscars hosted by Steve Zissou, and I want all the presenters to have little red caps on.
Okay. I'm not sure you're getting Boffo ratings with that, but
what? Bill Murray? Yes, you are.
Bill Murray is a legend. He's a treasure. John
Rocha.
Katniss? What movie character would you like to see host the Oscars?
He wants guys in red caps with beanies, but it's a kid's movie. I would say Danny Ocean. George Clooney's Danny Ocean as the host of the Oscars. That guy is smooth as hell. Can handle it. And counter to that, in The Year of the Woman, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock's character from Ocean's 8. She would be a great host as that character.
I thought you were going Miss Congeniality.
No. I
Walking the boards on stage.
Gracie should not get near the Oscars stage. She will stumble and trip over something and break it. You know she is. Gracie Hart. You know she is.
I'm just glad you didn't say like Winter Soldier or something, because that's what I was expecting out of you.
All right. Well, if it wasn't such an obvious plug for Disney, who them and ABC are obviously partners, then I would say R2D2 and C3PO and have BB-8 come in and make a cameo too. But it's like you can't do that because it's just so obvious that they're just selling us more Disney. Two of the greatest ambassadors that Star Wars have ever had, R2D2, C3PO. I think they'd be great hosting the Oscars, and I'm happy to be on stage and translate for R2D2 because R2D2 and I, simpatico. One more question, and we're going to get out of here. This comes from a very funny comic north of the border up there in Toronto. Kareem Hassanian is going to be open for me when I'm back in Toronto, so make sure you guys check us out. In the meantime, he has a question. What is the best Fred Savage role of all time? Is it obviously The Wonder Years, or is it The Wizard, or Once Upon a Deadpool?
Ooh.
Or you can throw a wild card in there.
Well, first of all, don't forget about Little Monsters.
I was going to say, throw a wild
card. Because The Wizard and Little Monsters are two of the greatest kids movies. Kids movies ever made. But the answer is obviously Kevin Arnold.
The
Wonder Years is now available on Hulu, so check that out.
Jeff Sneider,
the top 5 TV show of all time.
Playing the role of Wayne more days than not around the office. John Rocha. You're scrolling through Fred Savage's IMDb. You're trying to pull something out of your hat like Sneider did with Little Monsters. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, well, I will say this. I know not a lot of people talk about it, but if by any chance Fred Savage watches this show, I really enjoyed his character in Working. That sitcom he had on NBC for 2.5 seasons. Really enjoyed him on that. I like that character a lot. Princess Bride, it's all about the other characters. characters. The cuteness comes from his playing off of Peter Falk. So that, and I literally, those are the young kids. I don't know those films, but like to me, that I enjoyed him in working. That's a good, fun, interesting character. But I will say, I could go all the way back to The Boy Who Could Fly. A lot of people don't remember that one from the 80s. That's a good film, The Boy Who Could Fly. So
okay, that just reminded me of who I actually want to host the Oscars, and that is going to be Max from Flight of the Navigator. I want Max to just come down. I want a lot of compliance. That's what I'm looking forward to. Best Fred Savage role. Come on, it's got to be the Wizard. Yeah. It's got to be the Wizard. We got to get to California and play Super Mario Brothers 3. Was that a raccoon? What the hell is going on? And that does it for us today on this episode of Collider Movie Talk. I want to thank my esteemed panelist Jeff Sneider. Don't call him a kid's movie fan. John Rocha. Do not send him to see Aquaman. I am Millie Mark Ellis. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Normal time, normal station, same different movie news. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.